It's not what I took from you, it's not what I stole. We are born like this.
Where did it come from? 1973. Oh, this is going to be fun to watch. In 1973, put this on YouTube. This should be good just the way it is. In 1973, I befriended a family named the Dandies. I can't do it. Pause it. Don't laugh. In 1973, I befriended. In 1973, I befriended a family called the Dandies, who lived in a house in western New York, nestled in the hills of Hinsdale, a place called the Haskell Flats. Saw a newspaper article in the Olean Times-Herald, August 18th, 1973, that talked of a haunted house. And it was the same day a business, my first business actually, that I bought, Old Soda Bar, was condemned due to a fire in the building. I called my then fiance and asked her if she saw the ad in the paper, the article about the haunted house, and she told me that she actually lived with them. She had told me she actually worked with the mother of the family, and I asked her if she would ask her if we could possibly come up to see the house. I needed a good laugh after what happened to my business. Well, she called me back after a while and said that it would be okay to come up, but we had to be careful because there were so many people coming to the house trying to find a little proof of life after death. Well, that first evening, we went up there, and it was interesting. It was a house that's out in the middle of nowhere, basically. At the time, there weren't that many houses around it. And I met another gentleman there, Father Alphonsus Trebold, a Franciscan friar from St. Bonaventure University. And at the time, I didn't know why Father Al was there, but he had been called upon for explanations as to what the family was experiencing, and as well as for support in what they were doing with the problems of the paranormal. Upon entering the home, after meeting with Clara and her daughter Beth Ann and Mike, who came out to meet my fiance and I, we went inside, and it looked like a typical old farmhouse. Didn't seem to have any strange happenings. It certainly didn't look like a haunted house. It was a light white clapboard type house, which was 100 years old at the time. Sat in the living room for a little bit, and then Phil, the father, asked if we'd like to go for a walk and tour the property. They owned a little over 8 acres. Of course, ready? Action. Are we rolling? Are we rolling?
Yeah.
Hey, you're cross-eyed when you look at that thing. I don't know if you noticed that or not when you went. Yeah, your eyes. In 1973, August 18th. Something happened. In 1973, August 18th, I met a family, the last name of Dandy. It was the same day the business I owned, the Fountain of Youth in Olean, New York, was condemned due to a fire between the building next to mine and the wall of my building that was in my business. August 18th, 1973 was the day I met the Dandy family, the family that lived in the now infamous haunted house in Hinsdale, New York. The Olean Times-Herald covered the story of their paranormal activity, and I read that story the same day the business I owned, the Fountain of Youth in Olean, was condemned due to a fire. I called my then fiance and asked her if she'd seen the article. She said actually she worked with the mother, and I really really needed a good laugh, so I asked her if she would see if it would be okay for us to come up. She called back a little while longer. She called, just let it go. She called back a little. Mom. She called me back a little later and told me that it would be okay for us to go up. And she gave us directions on how to get there because it was really out in the middle of the Haskell Flats, and that we needed to be careful because so many cars were traveling the roads trying to find this house. It was amazing so many people were traveling because the story didn't come out until about noon that day, and by 6 o'clock that night there were cars parked up in all areas of the Haskell Flats on the dirt roads, and we found our way after getting lost once. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, but go ahead, just keep it going. When we arrived, we were met with a gentleman who was holding a .22 rifle aimed at me as I pulled into the driveway. I was told that Phil Dandy, the father, was protecting his property from trespassers. And actually it was Gordon, his brother-in-law, Clara's brother, who was standing vigil at the front of the property. He explained who he was, and Phil came out, and so did Clara, and two of her kids, Beth Ann and Mike, and took us into the house. We talked about different things, and I met another very fantastic man, Father Alphonsus Trebold, a Franciscan friar from St. Bonaventure University. Father Al had been called to evaluate the paranormal activity the family was experiencing, and also to give support in their dilemma, because they were all very frightened. After a little bit, Phil, the father, asked us if we wanted to go on a tour of the house and the property, and my fiance declined the tour, but I really wanted to see more of the area. He showed me the inside of the house, showed me 4 different bedrooms, actually 5 different bedrooms, counting Beth Ann's off the living room. This is going nowhere. We walked around and everybody looked for frogs and bulletproof vests. Stop it for a minute.